I'm Elliot the Purple-Haired Doofus, and welcome to the finale of The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher. Today, we finish this book. Chapter 24 begins with Rhea waking up to a familiar voice and a familiar sight, as she sees her mother looming over her. She asks her mother what she's doing there, and obviously she's there for the wedding. Her mother asks, has it been awful? And Rhea can't give her a proper answer, because she is terrified that the fiancé is listening in. She's getting dressed into the red dress, and Maria tells her that she has tailored some pockets into the sleeves for her. One for her hedgehog, and the other for a kitchen knife, just in case, as they prepare to push Rhea into the clock, to awaken the clockwork. Maria, Sylvie, and Rhea are all surrounding the side of the clock, and they're looking for a way in. And Maria puts her hand on the side of the clock and says a few words, and this glowing doorway opens up. And Rhea asks, I thought you were all out of magic. Well, maybe I just left a little bit for myself. I don't know about the rest of you, but that kind of put me on edge for Maria, because she's kind of lying. And it kind of broke my trust with her a little bit. Rhea gets down looking for a way in, and she finds that the entrance is no bigger than her head. She says, there's no way I'm going to get in there. And Maria just kind of lifts up her foot, kicks her in. The next chapter opens up with Rhea waking up on a tiled surface, much like the entrance to the manor. Only this is inside the clock. And all of a sudden, the tiles feel like they're moving. And she kind of balls herself up into a ball on one of the tiles, and she wonders if she's falling with the tile when it hits the ground, will it kill her? And then she realizes that she's not falling. The tile is actually lifting her up into the air, and she's holding on to the sides. And she says, you know, if this connects with another tile, I'm going to break all my fingers, but I would rather break all my fingers and fall off this tile and break all my bones. Eventually, the tile stops, and she wakes up on a rocky beach. And it's a beach that is covered in ice, as well as rocks. And there is a giant mountain-like glacier next to her. Again, she is greeted by a familiar voice. Hello? Do I know you? Who are you? How did you get here? Sylvie! It's me! Rhea! You know me. We've known each other for a long time. It's me, Rhea. I'm pretty sure I don't know you. So Sylvie is there, but she's no longer blind. And she has no memory of Rhea. And I am just utterly confused. I'm not the only one though, as every few pages, Sylvie has to ask, hello? Who are you? Do I know you? And my head is hurting. Because this is the end of the book, and it shouldn't be confusing me more, it should be answering questions that I had. This is not right. Eventually, Rhea is guided to the side of the ice glacier where she sees a doorway, but it's behind solid ice. And she's beating at it, beating at it, beating at it. Then all of a sudden, several knocks beat back. And she's having this tete-a-tete with a knock, 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 and a knock, knock, knock. And it's kind of like, huh, there's obviously someone in there. Let her out! The door opens, and she sees this woman curled into a ball behind the door. And this woman slowly steps out. And Rhea can't tell if this woman is actually growing to her high stature or merely stretching out to her high stature as she stands up. And she's nearly 7 feet tall. She's also incredibly pale. And she reaches out a hand to touch Rhea, and when it touches her, it burns her like fire. Which is surprising because she's been in ice this entire time. And yes, we now finally have the Clockwife joining the group. But when she talks, she is just as confused and confusing as Sylvie is inside the clock. And my head just... No! You shouldn't be introducing a confusing character 20 pages from the ends of your book. Why? The Clockwife confirms what Rhea had already feared, that the husband just wants to take Rhea's youth so that he can live on longer and she can live shorter. Rhea asks for the Clockwife's help, and the Clockwife says, I need a death. Death has been taken from me and I need to acquire one before I can help Iggy. Rhea, of course, swears her death to the Clockwife if she helps to destroy the husband. Once that's all been arranged, Rhea says, this is a perfect arrangement and everything, but we still have to find a way out of this mystical clock land that we're in right now. And that's when Clock Sylvie says, oh, I have a clock. Maybe that will help us to escape. And Sylvie leads the other two women to her clock cottage. And she shows off the giant clock that's inside. The two women look around and they open the door and they see the pendulum is not swinging. So it's not working right now. And how the hell are they going to use this to get out of the clockland? Her hedgehog friend swirls around in her pocket a little and she lets it out. She sets it down on the ground and the hedgehog just kind of goes and he scurries off. And I love the hedgehog. Any scene with the hedgehog is pure gold. Please, 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 more hedgehog. Hedgehog goes off and finds another exit that's in the form of kind of a trapdoor on the side of a wall. And Rhea goes up to it and she says, Maria? Are you there? Maria? And a giant white glowing door opens, much like the door that was open to go into the clock. And there's Maria on the other side. Rhea grabs hold of Clockwife and drags her through the doorway. Both Rhea and the Clockwife exit the clock, and Maria can see the Clockwife, but Ingith can't. Rhea asks Maria why she left part of Sylvie inside the clock. And I'm just getting more and more confused. More and more confused. I should not be this confused 2 chapters from the end of the book. Things should be starting to be resolved, not more and more confusion. Why? Maria says that she had no idea that there was part of Sylvie still left inside the clock. And she's so sorry that that happened. Maria tells Rhea, but you had better start walking down the aisle. Everyone's ready for a wedding to start. And Rhea starts walking down the aisle with the Clockwife slowly walking behind her. And as she's getting closer and closer to the end of the aisle, there's a fiancé staring at her, kind of wincing, kind of trying to focus. Because no one else can see the Clockwife, except for Rhea and Maria. And then it kind of alludes to the fact that if the husband could just concentrate just enough, he might be able to see her. And I'm just thinking, why can't anyone else see her? Why can't Ingith see her? Why can't any of the normal people see her? If it's just because she's magic, is Rhea part magic? And it's just... should not be dropping these confusing bits on me right now. In the penultimate chapter. No! The pastor starts to give his sermon about the joining of 2 lives, and the Clockwife just kind of pushes Rhea to the side and says, I will take care of this man who has ruined my life! And the crowd just kind of goes, who the fuck was that? Who was talking? What? Who said that? And then the crowd can see the 7-foot-tall albino Clockwife towering over the husband. He does the most courageous thing. He grabs onto Ingith and he hides. And it's just like, you just keep on being the coward that you are, buddy. The Clockwife starts howling. And the white path that brought everyone here starts boiling. And the dust starts kicking up. And the faces and the spirits in the dust start coming for the husband slash fiance. The crowd runs like hell. And it's just those three. Ingith, clockwife, and husband. And Rhea and Maria are standing at the doorway just watching. The husband begs Ingith to help him escape. And Ingith finally has her redeeming moment. She sees the tall 7-foot albino woman. And she sees all of the faces coming after them. She turns around and she just grabs on to the husband and holds him in place as the faces get closer and closer and closer until they envelop them all. Both Ingith and the husband are torn to shreds and dragged away, and the dust calms. Maria tells the pastor that the white path that led them all here is clear, and that he should take everyone with him back to their town where they can be safe. And that she and all the other women will clean up this horrifying mess. It's at this moment that Maria hints to Rhea that the hedgehog is actually her familiar. And Rhea asks, "I thought only witches and warlocks had familiars." You would be right, my child. That is absolutely true. Are you trying to tell me that I'm like part magic? Let's just say that when you're older, you should definitely come visit me. The remaining wives that are left over, Sylvie, Maria, and Rhea, the non-wife, all go to the pond where the golem wife was. And she slowly comes up, and they release her, and they allow her to die. And then Maria is greeted by her familiar, a giant bear that saved Rhea from the attacking dogs when she was trying to place the bouquet on the graves. And that's pretty much how the book ends. I will have all of my thoughts compiled into a spoiler-free review of this book tomorrow, so you should look out for that. The question from yesterday is, what kind of gifts do you have that you think other people would covet? Whether it be your personality, your physical traits, or some ability that you have. Particularly for me, a lot of people seem to enjoy my vocal talents. They seem to enjoy listening to my voice as I tell them stories, whether it be reading a book, summarizing a book, or telling stories from my real life. And a lot of people seem to envy my voice. I will have a new question and a new book next Monday. The new book being Pest Control by Bill Fitzhugh. If you haven't gone out and grabbed it yet, or borrowed it yet, you should do that before I ruin it for you next week. I have been the Purple-Haired Doofus reminding you to watch your pajamas. And this has been The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher. I will see you all in Pest Control by Bill Fitzhugh. Toodles!